Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Jonah and the Pod.
Jonah and the Pod.
Today, we have a very special guest. We have someone that has been on the podcast before. I think apparently it was on the
Third or fourth episode.
Yeah, it was I think the third guest, fourth episode.
Yeah.
The first one was me and Anthony. So if you are new around here, you probably don't know him. But if you are an OG, please everyone welcome Simon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sydney.
So Simon is someone that I have known for a very, very long time. He was in my brother's grade. My eldest brother, Roger, is in his grade. We used to go to the same church together.
Correct.
And I was telling this to Simon today, and it will sort of lead us into the topic of today. But I was telling Simon, like, for some reason, even though, so we'll get into it, but there was like a gap in our lives, probably like a 10-year gap.
Yeah, I reckon it was probably 10 years.
Yeah, something like very long gap where we were barely in each other's lives. And I was young when like we wanted each other. Yeah, when we parted ways. But for some reason, I have like this. It's sort of like he's like my cousin, or he's like someone that I've known. He's like family. And I was like, I don't know why it's easier for me to talk to you about things than it is for me to talk about the people I'm really close with at like my new church or whatever it is. It's very interesting.
Even some people at school. I don't know. I used to be so close to our group because you guys were more comfortable.
Yeah,
it kind of felt like home.
Yeah, so I was like, I feel like picking that apart would be interesting. And then we can get into other friendships and all that kind of stuff. So I want to ask, why do you think, and I'm curious to see your perception of our relationship as well. Because maybe you just looked at me as like, Jonah was like a young kid, but you're 6 years older than me.
So I'm 30 now.
Yeah, I'm turning 25 soon. So
wow, so we're actually not that far apart.
5-6 years, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Back then
see you as
like
I don't actually see myself as that much older than you in my brain now. But when we were younger, I definitely could distinguish how far apart.
I think that, yeah, like you were always my brother's friend.
Yeah,
like 6 years older than me back then. That would mean you're double my age if I was 6 years old. So.
What was my perceptions of you, and how did I?
Like right now, and then we'll get into that.
Yeah, okay. So now my perception of you, obviously, I was saying it outside that, like, when I look at you now, I'm just like, he's a man. Like,
appreciate it.
You're tall. You're broad. Yeah. I guess my perception of you now is I've always known you to have like a really fervent heart and someone who is really tender, is really aware of everyone around you, always ministerial at heart. So I guess like when I think of you, I've always just been very like proud, and like my association and perception of you is to be like, he's comfortable and he's just so good at ministry and has a really passionate heart for the people he loves and his church. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's my perception. And not much comes to mind other than the fact that like you're familiar and you're like someone I'm close to, even if we aren't together for a long time.
Yeah, it's like we're getting into friendship, but it's very interesting because like what year did you?
I left Lektingabi.
Yeah.
I left when I was 19. It's like 11 years ago.
11 years ago, what, 2013?
12? 13?
Was it
We're in 23. 2013? Yeah.
Why does it feel like 2013 feels like 4 years ago?
That's ages. So it was 2 years after high school finished for me.
Yeah, that's wild. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. How old are you then? 2013?
13, 14.
Yeah. Far out. You were so young.
Yeah.
You had just been going into youth.
Yeah. You know what's... Yeah, this is random. This has nothing to do with it, but today is my 16th birthday. Christian birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
Far out.
So 16 years ago.
Why do I feel like that's older than me? Like older than my Christian birthday. I don't even know what mine is.
16 years ago today, the 1st of June, is when I gave my life to Christ. I was just thinking, like, was it before then, after then? But Yeah, I don't know why it felt so much longer. 2013 genuinely feels like 4 years ago.
Yeah, it doesn't
That's
feel
so
like it's that long
weird.
ago because I feel
Oh
like
my
the
gosh.
wound was so fresh leaving it. I
Yeah.
think when you think of all your catalyst moments, like when you move churches and when you go through a different stage of life, that felt like that felt like a very catalyst
That's
moment.
so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so this is interesting because I think I mentioned it in the other podcast, but it was like maybe like 7-8 years where we obviously saw you, and whenever we saw you, it was a fantastic like
Mm.
whatever. But like when you were at Sungabi at our old church, you were always here. Like you were
Always.
like again my brother's friend. You were always around. I don't know if you remember we played like the hunting game.
Yeah.
I always remember you, and I was like probably 8 years old, 6 years old, something like this at this time. But
Yeah.
like I always remember Simon just being there, probably terrified, scared, more scared than everyone else.
I was.
It was like a random hunting game on PS2.
Yeah, we used to play Mario Kart and just sit in that garage for days upon days, just versing each other.
Yeah, it was yeah, such like
Fond memories.
fond memories. But like me and you didn't have a connection. We didn't have this bond. So what's interesting is like, so you were gone for like 7-8 years, whatever. But then when you were going through tough times, I remember I said this in the other podcast that we had, but you came back here.
Always came back.
Yeah, and it was very interesting because it's like
Why?
why and maybe there's like because I think my mum was like a second mum to you. Hopefully my brothers and myself were like brothers to you. You didn't have maybe but like I said, me and you were never really close because the age gap was weird. Like it would be weird for you and I to be friends.
I agree.
Like I think we loved each other, but it was like we weren't friends.
I think the advantage you had is that your home was open for everyone. And I think that's something that I really admired about your family being so hospitable, and it was very admirable that you guys had an open home for anyone in your church. And a lot of the people in our church growing up had come from broken homes. And so the comfort that I feel like I had in this house, it surpassed the comfort I was getting at home at some point. And that happened in a lot of houses in our church. Like I was comfortable with quite a few families. And that was the church community. Like I think that was really, really special. Even though there was obviously so many blind spots that we had as a church, the one thing we had really done well is hospitality and just this beautiful open-heartedness to having people in your home and adopting them as your own. And so I feel like your mum probably and your dad facilitated that relationship that we shared, that even though we might have been siblings spiritually, we weren't close growing up because we had different maturity levels. But now that you've kind of matured and we've been reintroduced into each other's lives, there's this association and it's almost like we're blood relatives. And like, I don't know. I think it all stemmed from the hospitality, I suppose.
Yeah. Maybe it's just like, yeah, because I was trying to figure it out before because I literally was, because I knew Simon obviously was coming on the podcast, but I knew we were going to also hang out. And I was like, I think about all the conversations that I'm about to have with people or whatever it is. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, why do I feel this way towards Simon? Because like I said before, like there's people that I'm really close to at church. But for some reason, like I would say like we're close, but we're not like extremely close where it's like you shouldn't be someone that I'm willing to open up about.
How dare you? What do you mean you can't open up?
Yeah, like, but for some reason I do, and for some reason it's just like, it's like, yeah, Simon, I've known him my whole life pretty much. Even though the gap in my life that Simon wasn't around was the gap that was probably my most like important years of my life and my journey with God and stuff, or just in life really. So it's interesting that we got reintroduced sort of thing, and it just sort of like happened out of nowhere. And maybe you're right, maybe it is the like hospitality thing, and maybe we were just in each other's lives. It was really like family like then, like everyone was just like everyone's family sort of thing. There wasn't like I don't know, it wasn't really cliquey.
No, it wasn't. I think we were always welcoming to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've sort of set the basis of our friendship. But I'm curious as to other friendships in your life. So like, this is very peculiar and very foreign to a lot of people. Just having someone that you've been distant with, not even really friends with, and then come into your life and it's just like, oh,
kick off back where we left off.
Yeah, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, sorry.
Yeah, do you know what it is? I think for us as well, for me and you, I think when you were reintroduced into my mind, like when I saw you again, I was so excited to explore what your personality was like now. I don't know if you're the same. When you saw me again, you had missed a lot of my life. And so when you saw me again, you were like, he's gone through a lot. I want to know what happened, because I'd gone through so much, and you kind of see it from a distance or hear it down the grapevine. But I had heard only amazing things about you. And I wanted to understand it as well. So when I saw you again, I was like, this is my opportunity. I had to seize the opportunity to get to know you again. And when I got to know you, I was so surprised, but also really blessed by it, because you matured into the person that I had always wished you would mature into, and wished a lot of our youth matured into. And so that's why it was such a fond moment. Cool. Yeah, which I think is very unique. Yeah. And I guess that's what made our friendship, I think, our connection a lot better.
It's funny you said, like, from my perspective, you were always, like I said, my brother's friend. And you were always, there are obviously things that I do remember about you, but because I was so young, it's like, all I knew of you, I didn't know like what you were, like your spiritual walk. I didn't know anything like that. I didn't know really anything. I didn't know my own spiritual walk back then. Like I was young. But I knew like stories of, what I remember is the hunting game sort of thing. The very random stuff. There are other things that I remember about you, but I probably won't mention them. they were good things, but it's just like fun
overstaying
things.
My welcome probably half the time.
No, see, I don't remember that at all. Like,
I used to sleep over all the time.
I'll say it, but you used to say, "Oh, Jonah's like the model of the family."
You are the model of the family. It's the blue eyes, bro.
It just dropped off hard, but but like you used to say stuff like that, and I was just like, maybe because it was about me and stuff. Like, these are the things I remember about you. So I didn't really have an expectation
where the friendship would be. Yeah.
But for some reason, there was just like this connection. It was just like that was there.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And I think you touched on something really cool. It's the expectation part. Even if we weren't friends before, you didn't anticipate what our friendship would be after. And that's beautiful that you said didn't have an expectation. I think as friends, friendship, like one of the, like if you could do a word wall of everything related to like the concept of friendship, the word wall would definitely include expectation. That would come up. Like if you were asking people to write something about related to friendship, their experience with friendship, expectation certainly would be one of the negative and the positive pieces of feedback you'd get.
Yeah, it's true. How about we do, maybe we can do that at the end, but like, so we're talking about friendships now. So we spoke about our friendship. Like I said before, this is it's an anomaly. It doesn't really happen to many people. But everyone has experienced friendship, hopefully. Hopefully everyone's experienced some sort of relationship with whoever. But it comes in all different shapes, different sizes.
Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of paths that I can go down. Think of so many different questions. But maybe we'll start off. What do you think are some key importances for you as a friend to be that friend to other people?
Right. So what do I give to a friendship?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I think the key things I've learned. I just want to caveat. I'm not the perfect friend. And I think that's one of the things to remember when you go into a friendship. You're not going to be the perfect friend. Yeah. And I'm not also a bad friend. Like I think if I've got a friendship, I will serve that friendship as much as possible. Friendship has been like probably one of the main pillars of my life that has sustained me, like by God's mercy and grace, that has been one of the most imperative reasons I think I even remained in Him. And so I think one thing that I love to deliver in friendships is, I think, making sure that you're serving other people in your friendships. I'm not good at it all the time, and I certainly think there are definitely friendships that I need to think about all the time and catch myself and say, is this friendship serving me more than I'm serving it? Or serving them, because that definitely makes a difference. I think so. Serving, I think something that I like to do in a friendship is prayer. I think some of the reasons why my friendships have flourished or not flourished sometimes, because things are brought to the surface, whether it be through life circumstances or whether it be through conversations, is prayer. Like, God has directed my paths and put people in and out of my life, and vice versa. And so I think prayer has mapped everything out in my friendships. I think there are times when I realized that some friends that I'd prayed for years and years, probably 10 years, not in my life anymore. I don't pray for them anymore. But maybe God needed me to be friends with them, to uplift them and to serve them for that time, and then let go. And naturally, we've gone into different spaces in love and absolute peace. So yeah, service and prayer. And then the other thing is just, I think, coexisting in an environment, in a friendship that's comfortable and honest and open. So communication is something I deliver in a friendship. I over communicate in every friendship, in every relationship. I love communication.
Do you think over communicating is a negative?
Some people struggle with it with me, I think. When you say negative, like, what could be negative about over communication?
That's what I'm asking.
Because it's like, I think a lot of people say you've said too much that's on your mind, but wouldn't you want everything that's on my mind out? I think people struggle to absorb communication, but I don't necessarily think over communication is bad. There are times in my friendships, there is a friend that I have, there are times in that friendship where they say, that was not easy for me to hear, or you said the wrong thing. Like, you completely missed the mark. Like, just step back for a second and just realize what you said. And then I'll be like, oh, and it'll win me a bit, because I'll be like, oh, I did say something, and it wasn't something offensive. It was just an opinion, or it was something I over communicated that I thought about them or observed or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, they're right. Like, I shouldn't have said that. And that helps our friendship strengthen, because I over communicated. It might not have landed well, but it certainly landed us in a better place after it was over communicated.
Yeah, I think, look, I don't know. I think I can sometimes over communicate. Sometimes I can under communicate.
Often I think boys
under communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, yeah, I think you're right. Because I would never really, like, I think I'm very open, but I'm not like open to the extent of like I'm struggling, but I'm open to like, I don't even know what I do, because I think I do say I'm struggling, but I'm not like, I'm not open with my emotions, if that makes sense.
I think something you bring to friendship is vulnerability.
Yeah, that's what, like, yeah, I don't know, because I'm not really like an emotional guy.
No.
But I can still be vulnerable.
Yes.
Such a weird like dynamic.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can talk about that a bit later.
Next minute he starts crying.
Yeah. Honestly.
Oh gosh.
I want to cry.
I don't know how to deal with that. I'm not good with dealing with tears sometimes.
So I'm not gonna cry. You're fine.
Yeah.
But over communicating, I think sometimes it can be overwhelming for some people.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think sometimes that I ask a lot of questions, and sometimes that could be very overwhelming for people. And this is something I'm learning now, of how to approach different people and talk to different people. Something I'm really learning. But sometimes I ask too many questions, and I think maybe because I'm a youth leader, I like for them to think for themselves and stuff. Some people just need that like communication, direct communication. Some people just need no communication. Like, it's weird.
Just evidence of your
So
time.
I was like, communication is key, for sure, in friendships, relationships, all that kind of stuff. Over communication, I don't even know if this is just a term that we've made up or if it's like...
I think it's overcompensating for communication. People always communicate, but what do we talk about? Like in friendship, the richest friendships I have are the ones where I've literally unpacked it from being surface. And some people stay on that like top layer of friendship.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I have a relationship with Jonah, but we only talk about this stuff. And if he kind of treads into those waters, I deviate from it because I'm uncomfortable. It's uncharted territory. But the uncharted territory is the best part to be, because when you get into the uncharted territory, you get that layer deeper, and that layer deeper unlocks a new place for you guys to explore as friends. And that like could be vulnerability. It could be, actually conflicting opinions, conflicting like views. It could be, biblical. It could be theological debates. It could be whatever it might be. But when you're surface level, I just don't think that's as genuine.
Yeah.
Really, and it's not rich.
You probably heard this in one of the other podcasts, but the way I split sort of in my head friendships is like entertainment friends.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one? Like deep conversation friends. And then both
entertainment and deep.
Yeah. I don't know. Like if
they're like your 7-day-a-week friends.
Yeah. Entertainment is like, I don't know. I think when you're younger, you probably more have entertainment friends, especially for guys. I think probably most people in your life are entertainment, and then when you get older, it
starts to become very deliberate.
Yeah, it becomes deliberate, but also your entertainment friends. Like now all of your entertainment friends are going through something, or like now we have to face reality. So it's like we're facing reality together anyway. So like you're mainly entertainment, but then a few deep conversations slip in, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that's how I sort of split it in my head. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm just wrong.
No, I have my own friendship theory. It's like the inner core. Then the inner core is like family and like probably whoever I marry if I get married. And then there is the
So relationships, not friendships.
Yeah, relationships in general. And then there's bronze, silver, gold, and platinum in my friendships. And like every day it's different, but like I have the people that are in my core, and then I have the people that are in my platinum, and then I have my people that are in my gold, and then I have people in my silver and my bronze. And you could be in my bronze or my silver if you're people that I see every day. My aim though in my brain is just to constantly know what the expectation is of myself in those friendships, and how prayerful I am for that's solar system essentially of people who's kind of rotating around.
Do you think that having that mindset, maybe you don't actively think of it, but maybe having that mindset, is there a fear, or is there like a possibility that you're like putting them in that?
Yeah.
And they're like staying there because they've made it there in your head?
Yeah, I think there is that, and a lot of people fall from like one layer to the next. Like even just people think that it's a stupid thing that I do because it's like you're defining it too much. But it's like, if we're being realistic with ourselves, if you're not defining your friendships, you're not going to service it well. To some degree. And I'm always like, you'll notice there's always a new person in my life, and it's fine. Like, and they'll come into my life, and sometimes they get really close, and then they draw further away, and then that's fine. They were in my orbit for a while, and now I'm not in their orbit, and that's fine. But there are some that come through and they stay. There are pretty big friendships that I've had in the last 2 to 3 years that are now core friendships.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do understand your whole, like, are you concerned about the way that you define it? And is it very like template? I would say, yeah, but I'm not overly concerned, because at the end of the day, God's in control of my friendships,
It's true. I love, you've said it a few times already, but the fact that you understand that there are people in your life that you were friends with for a time, and things happened. Maybe it's not negative, like maybe there's no animosity or whatever, but like whether it's distance or just, I don't know, just whatever it is, it's like they're not in your life anymore, which I think has probably happened to most people, whether it's school friends, going out of school, or moving churches, or what it is for me, or whatever it is. Do you think there comes a time where you just, I'll ask you personally, actually, have you struggled with letting those friendships go?
Yes.
And do you think there's a time where, actually, do you think it's healthy to let it go?
Yeah. There's
just one question at a time.
I've definitely experienced friendships that I've struggled to let go of. Do you know what's crazy? Like, you think about friendships in the Bible, there's like Paul and Mark. They were ones that didn't agree at some point, and then they kind of fell out of each other's way. They were out of each other's way. Was it Paul and Mark?
Peter.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Paul and Mark.
Maybe.
And then in Timothy, I think it talks about them doing ministry together.
Oh, you're talking about Paul and Barnabas.
That's it.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
And then they go back into seeing each other again, and then I think he asks for him again in Timothy. Anyway, and then there's also a friendship in the Old Testament. I can't even remember it, to be honest. I'm not great with remembering it.
Is it Barnabas or Silas? Sorry, it's going to annoy me.
No, Silas is...
It is Barnabas, right?
I think it is Barnabas. No, you're right.
Look, it's either Barnabas or Silas. I apologize.
we can put it in the info after. Yeah, and then there's another friendship in the Old Testament where someone actually asked them not to be around, like to leave them, and then they didn't leave their side. I can't remember who it was. It was someone else in this ministry. Oh, I remembered it before, and now I can't forget. I can search it later. But yeah, there are definitely friends that I've had that I've struggled to let go of for various reasons. One, I wasn't mature enough to let go of them, and like I wanted them for me, and I was really upset that they left me, and blah blah blah. It was all about me. I didn't really think too much about why they left or why it phased out and stuff like that. Like some people move into different spheres of life, and it's not convenient to be friends anymore, and that's fine. There are some people that move overseas, or there are some people that, you know, have moved into relationships and that require a level of time and energy that they don't have time and energy for their friends, which is, to be honest, controversial thought. It's fine to some people because that's the capacity God's given them. Legit. I've always wanted to think of myself as someone who's like not going to let go of friends if I get into a relationship, but I can't guarantee it. And I don't think you can either, because we just don't know what our capacity is going to be in the future. So yes, I have had that problem. I have a bigger problem with friendships ending on a bad note. And like there's been some sort of separation because of some trialing time. When we're younger, it was probably a girl. But when we're older, it's probably like theology or like, joking, yeah, it could be a girl again, but it could be other things like it could be theology. It could be we're not like-minded. It could be that he goes to that church and I don't go to that church. And I don't know if I really respect that church. It could be I don't agree with his life decisions. So that actually does play a big role in a lot of the reasons why friendships end. But yeah, you know what? Friendship breakups are real and they hurt. And a lot of men don't admit that out loud. And I think it's because I think we want to appear stronger than we are. But especially like people who are people more adverse to emotions. Yeah.
I think there are from experience, obviously I'm not speaking absolute fact because I'm not sure. From experience, I think there are friendships that just fall away naturally and there's not much you can do about it. You still sort of have love for people, and if you see them again, it's all love.
Yeah, nurturing.
So even sometimes in those situations, distance, I was speaking about this last podcast, but sometimes distance makes
the heart grow fonder.
So I said that, but then I said like maybe like it starts to feel a bit of animosity even though nothing happened.
That's a lack of communication.
Yeah, but like I don't know, that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, those friends that just you've let go, like you haven't let go, but it's just stuff happens, life happens, you sort of distance yourself and you're sort of okay with it. But then there are those friends where you feel like it's not the time to let go. And from experience, a lot of the times it's actually not, but whether it's they've hurt you or you've hurt them or it's a miscommunication, whatever it is.
It's the only real resolve.
Sometimes it's just like a
natural.
Someone needs to reach out to someone, sort of thing,
and say it's done.
No, I'm saying like and keep it going.
Oh, I thought you meant like as in like it's done. I've
No.
never done that.
No, I've never.
I think I maybe have done that actually when I was like 14. It's done. Yeah, like saying like this friendship's done.
No.
I lie. I think I have done that. How bad. But I haven't ended any friendship. I just want to be clear. Like it was me being like, I don't know if this friendship works. But then I was like,
yeah. Look, I've had a situation where someone was just treating our friendship really poorly. Just
what does that look like for you?
A lot of lies.
Okay.
It's sort of a one-way friendship. And I I didn't say to him like we're done or whatever, but it was like I sent him a message and it was clear. Like it was just like,
this isn't edifying.
It was like something that I was always doing for him in life. It's like I'm stopping to do that for you. And I told him like we're stopping this, and he knew, okay, like that's probably the end of the friendship, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And as tough as that was, I think sometimes that isn't necessary, because I think I've always been like a walking a doormat. Like just that people walk on. But it's like I do that to myself. I
think a lot of Christians are like that though. Like a lot of believers or people that grow up in church.
Yeah, and I think I've learned how to get out of that, and I'm no longer that. But I'm still trying to be very helpful and all that stuff. I've said
cater to them.
Yeah, I've said it many times. I want to be. What's the saying that I always say? I'd rather be used than not used at all.
Yeah.
And I still hold to that, but I'm sort of learning how to not be used, but also be used.
I get you.
Sorry, the saying is, I'd rather be used and abused than not used at all. But now I'm learning how to be used and
not abused, and used.
And used, yeah. So I'm learning that, and in friendships, that's like a tough thing, because I think in my life personally, the times that most of the time, my friendships have been more one way. And I think that's because I give a lot of myself, and I try and live for them.
That's something I think is really important to talk about, because I think friendships are very they're meant to be natural, and it organically happens, right? It's not overcomplicated. Whereas, relationships, it's a bit more different, because it's, hey, Jonah, I'm into you, and then ask them out type thing. And then you kind of work your way up to a very intimate relationship. Whereas friendships are so intimate, and in a weird way, probably a different type of intimacy it's so well bonded, because it's very I don't know how to describe it. You have to put a lot of effort into it, and it's got to be really two parties really, really like lifting the yoke together, essentially. And I think what can happen is, in friendships, a lot of people think that they're friends with someone, but they're not. And they've got to be able to distinguish that. And I think that's something I've started to be learning a little bit, is know the capacity to which you are that person's friend, and just be really prayerful about what that friendship looks like for you. And just be like very clear with the Lord that you really admire this person and would love their friendship, whether it be closer or less close. Like either you don't have capacity of them, so make capacity, or I don't think I yoke well with this person, so Lord, I need you to work through this friendship. And I think when people become friends with people, they've got to be really strategic in that they've got to know that that person's got friends, or that person doesn't have many friends, and got to know how to navigate that as well. Because the worst thing I see is a lot of people making heaps of friends but not being able to give them what they need. And it's not necessarily that everyone needs something, because everyone should be mature enough to know not to have expectations. But naturally with friendship, there's expectations. And the closer you get, the more expectations there are. But there's a difference between the closer you get and the closer that you're perceived. And I think a lot of friends, i.e. maybe you with this guy, perceived him to be a close friend, but in his heart of hearts, he doesn't see you as a close friend.
Yeah.
And that broke your heart, and that hurt you, and that had put weight on you day by day when you thought of that person. And so I think one of the things that I do a lot in my friendships is I set expectation. Like, even though there shouldn't be expectations, I say, I don't have expectations of you, but really, like, I love you. I do. I admire you. I think you're an awesome person. I think you edify me. I think we grow together. And I do that in a jokingly way because men are just bad at being serious with each other. Sometimes I do it flat out serious, or sometimes it's prayerfully. But I'm just really clear with my friendships about, I think this friendship is really important to me. And I hope you feel the same in terms of importance. Because if you do, I want to make sure that we're sharing this friendship with open communication.
Yeah. I like it. So what are your expectations for other people then?
I think my expectations for someone who I've newly become friends with, it's different to someone who I'm like friends with for a long time.
Well, let's just say, like, what would you look for in a friend then?
Someone who is like-minded to some degree. A lot of my friends are unexpected. I think when you think of my friends, everyone's like, why are you friends with that person? That's so random. Or they'll talk to my friends and be like, that's random that you're friends with Simon.
What do you mean by like-minded? But
I mean, I don't know how, but you know, like how you said, when we get together, we kind of understand each other in a way that's non-verbal. It's just there's this weird mutual mind between the two of us, and most believers have that in common, in that, like, we're all believers and we're all friends because we love God and we serve God. And God is pretty much the center of our friendship, and is the center of most of my friendships, to be honest. But when I say like-minded, I mean we're both striving towards similar goals. Like most of my friends, we have very aligned goals, whether it be to serve God in a new way, where we're defeating sin. I think one of my primary goals in most of my friendships is how can I help them and help myself defeat sin, and, like, as much as possible be holy. That's our primary goal. And whether I've spoken to my friends or not, they know that, I think, about me, and vice versa. I know that about them, and I am really quick to figure out if that person wants that or doesn't want that. Yeah. Because if they don't want that, it's not going to be good for me, but I'll still love them. And so it will zap me of my holiness. Does that make sense? Because it'll lead me astray, etc. So that's what I mean by, I think, like-minded. Does that kind of suffice? Yeah. In the like-minded?
I think it's very biblical. I just wanted to clarify for anyone that didn't understand it. But
Jonathan and David, perfect friendship.
Genuinely. That was so good.
Like-minded friendship. That the best part of that friendship is how much Jonathan serves David, and how much he loves him, and how much he is willing to sacrifice everything he has for David.
Yeah. Philippians 2 talks about being in the same love, same mind.
Yeah.
One mind. And it talks about believers in general. And I think we should all be of the same mind, have the same goal. So yeah, it's very, very biblical. And I agree. What else? Is there anything else? So you said like-mindedness. What else do you...
It's something I expect from them.
Yeah, like your perfect friendship that you would say.
Perfect friendships are like-mindedness. I think people that appreciate me. I don't know if that's whatever. I don't know what it's called when you love yourself. But I think people that appreciate me, and that I see more of myself growing when I'm around them than I do see myself deteriorating, essentially. When I feel like I'm not growing in a friendship, I distance myself a bit. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're not ever going to grow. I think we just grow in different seasons at different rates in our friendship. I love to see... The best thing about friendship that I've noticed is everyone's like, Jonah, you've got such a cool personality. Like, this personality is awesome. But what people don't know is that personality was made and shaped by God through so many people, through him and so many people. And it's like every single person that you've touched, you said, you know, your brother led you in youth, and, you know, you had another youth leader that was also one of your friends, and their personalities have distinctively been like instilled in you in different ways and have made you the Jonah you are today. And so when I see a friend, I look at them, and if I admire them a lot and I see so many beautiful parts of what makes them them, I adore it. And like, I really thank God for it, and I absorb everything I can from them.
Yeah.
So I think that is something I look for in a friendship.
Yeah.
Like
Someone that
an adoration and respect and a reverence and a admiration.
Yeah. So it's literally like iron sharpens iron sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like someone that just makes you better, more sharp.
Yeah.
In this, I like it. So like-mindedness, better.
Yeah. Admiration even better. Yeah.
Admiration.
And the other expectations I have, I want a friend that will always be honest, even when it hurts. A friend that, yeah, can be. Men suck a consistency in this element, including me, surprisingly. Like honesty is very difficult because it's such a vulnerable position to be in, and sometimes the reality of your thoughts and your heart hurt you to say out loud. So I really, really adore honesty in a friendship, and I really love when someone is just real with me about how they're feeling. And it works both ways in that they're honest even when they're not around me. There is like this integrity that they have when it comes to me outside of when I'm around. Like, are they talking about me in an edifying way, or are they putting me down? And this is a constant learning thing, because one of my toxic traits, so bad, I'm confessing it on this podcast, it's so bad, is that when I'm really upset at someone and I can't get through to them, and then, or even if I'm upset with someone subliminally, that's one of Bobby's favorite words, subliminally.
Wow.
And I hate that word, and I said it, subliminally. If I'm subliminally not feeling a certain way in a friendship, sometimes I lash out in the way I talk about them, or the way that I show how much I love them. Like I'll show the cracks in the way that I talk about them. And
do you lash out to them, or
I've done both? So I lash out to them and
about them.
Yeah, it's very bad.
Yeah,
but it's like I said, it's honesty. Like, I'm just being honest.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people do that. Like, when they're friends, we just got to be realistic. Like, some friendships really hard to keep between you, and then you end up talking to someone else about it, and then it hurts to reflect on it.
Yeah, so vulnerability is like you said before, I think I'm pretty vulnerable. I'm not sure why. I think I just don't care too much, like, about
what people think.
Yeah. And it's never out of like an emotional state, or sometimes it could be. I think if you're like the closest people to me, you will see the emotional state rarely, but like the emotional state of me
2 times in the last 5 years.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, the vulnerable side, it's just like there's a bit of, it sort of goes two ways, because I was vulnerable recently to you and other people.
Yeah.
It was just like, I asked a question that was very personal, and what I sort of felt after it, I didn't expect this at all, but what I sort of felt was like I was just a voice for
other people
as well, which is interesting. I didn't have this sort of, I didn't have this before I asked the question. There wasn't the goal, but it's like, okay, well, I am actually helping others as well, which is always helpful. Like, obviously.
Vulnerability is what is it when you're sick and then it keeps passing on?
Contagious.
It's contagious.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is contagious. If one person's vulnerable, you will notice the people that respect that person become vulnerable too, and then it just keeps cascading.
Yeah, for sure. And then that's something in like you learn as a youth leader is when you're open to like sort of the young boys, like from year 7 to year 12, they're very closed off. Like nothing is hurting them, nothing, whatever. It's like they're not going to share with you at all. Even if it's the biggest thing or the smallest thing, they're not going to share with you.
Or you got the other extreme where they're oversharing.
Sure.
You probably haven't experienced
that. I haven't experienced that, to be honest.
I don't think I was an oversharer in year 7A, but I think I did overshare. It's like part of my coping strategy mechanism.
Yeah, some people might be that, and to get someone to actually be comfortable, they might not share with you still, but it's actually you sharing with them first. It's actually you being vulnerable to them. Obviously, you have to be careful with what you share because they're a youth kid, whatever. But I think even in just friendships, if you're not open and you're very closed off, you're not showing any weaknesses or vulnerability or anything, you're not going to get people to open up to you.
Nope.
So what's happening is you're not helping yourself. You're not helping others at all.
And you're not growing.
You're not growing. I have fallen into a trap of not being vulnerable in times in my life. And I'll tell you the reason, and I'll probably speak for men. Maybe I'm wrong in this, but it's because they don't want to seem weak. I think that's the biggest reason. And for me, it was looking at other people in my life that are going through much worse or going through tougher times, whatever it is. But it's like they don't open their mouth about it. They don't speak about it. They don't. Whatever. Realistically, I know that they're struggling, but since like it seems like they're just not caring about it and they're just going on with life, to me, if I have something that is smaller in my eyes, and I complain about it or I just talk about it, open up about it, it's like, wow, Jonah, you're weak and pathetic sort of thing. And I think that's what has stopped me previously to actually opening up.
Have you thought that, or has someone told you that?
That I'm weak?
And pathetic.
No, I've thought it.
Yeah.
I think people have said it about themselves, of like.
And so that's
why am I going
to? That's the perception they'll have of me.
Yeah. So like, why am I going to complain about this? Like, I'm like, they'll say like, oh, I have nothing to complain about, like whatever, and they'll compare themselves to other people. Or they'll be like, I have nothing to complain about. God has got me and all this stuff. I'm just like, yeah, He has got you, but I mean, if you just read the Psalms, like. Complaining is okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and this is a bit of a tangent, but recently I read Psalm 47, Psalm 45, I think it actually was, and
Psalm 45.
Do you want to get it? Should we get it up?
I just feel like I'm done giving people inaccurate information.
It was one of the Psalms. That's
my problem. It's me. It's just my fault. Psalm 45.
Yeah, I'll get it up. I think it was Psalm.
My heart overflows with pleasing theme.
No.
It's definitely not 45. God is my fortress.
Psalm 44.
44.
Yes, Psalm 44. We probably won't read it. It's a bit long.
Yeah. What was the section that you said you were reading?
There's all of Psalm 44.
Oh, okay.
And pretty much it's just like... Is it 44?
Why do you forget your affliction and oppression? Why do you forget?
It's just like I was reading it, and often in these Psalms, they are talking like, God, where are you? Why are you doing this to me? What's happening in my life? All this stuff. And I was self-reflecting, as I do, as the Bible should help you do. And I was like, in my life, I constantly, when I talk to God, I'm talking about what I'm doing, the bad that I'm doing. And when I compare myself to the Psalms, I compare myself to Psalm 51 and I think the 37, I think as well, maybe. And it's the times where like the psalmist is saying, what are they doing to me? The enemy. It's like, no, like I've sinned against you, God. I'm sorry for this, like that kind of stuff. But I've never really just gone to God like, God, why? I've never really put it on God. I've never complained to God about things outside of my control. Yeah. But it's interesting because in the Psalms, they do that. And I'm like, I don't know if this is a negative thing. I don't know if it's a positive thing. I don't know, but I always sort of throw it on myself. I throw like all the blame on myself, and I don't know how I got to this point, but it's interesting.
I think it's probably like their culture as well to do that.
I think it's important to understand that we can complain to God as well. And he'll understand where we're coming from. He'll like, if we complain to him, sometimes we understand how dumb the things that we're saying are. But also sometimes it's genuine. It's like, God, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why you've done this to me. I don't know why you've put this in my life. I don't know why this didn't happen. I don't know why this friendship has broken up. I don't know why. And God, why? But often it's like, God, I'm sorry if I've done anything. I'm sorry that I broke this friendship up. Like, which is good. Take responsibility. I would always say that. I said it a lot today.
Yeah.
We need to take responsibility, but also like, just go
be
to
candid
God.
with God.
Yeah, be real.
Yeah, I think really that's a very important point that you make about being real with God. He can see your inner thoughts anyway. So if you're blaming God for something, he knows you're blaming him. Just say it. Like, don't be a coward in your thoughts. Like, just say what you actually feel. I think that's very important. 100%. And also, God corrects you in your prayer. Like, I've had moments when I've been on my hands and my knees, or like on my knees, and it was by the side of my bed, and I've been praying, and I've been, Lord, how could you do this to me? Like, how could you let me fall into this? Or how could you take this away from me? Or how could you give me this and it not be right? And all those things that you constantly do when you're, I guess, I don't know, doing life with God. And by the end of my prayer, I just like David will end up being like, but I thank you so much for your grace. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be able to speak to you. And thank you so much that I have all of these things in my life that you've blessed me with. Thank you that I have, the mental capacity to be able to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah. And I think that's what the psalmist did. They complained and they went to God with all their emotions and their feelings and all that stuff, but they never blamed God.
No.
It was like, God, you are the reason this is happening. It was just more of like a, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And I think eventually you will find out why, whether it's difficult, like the reason is difficult to understand or whatever it is. I think you'll find out why. You'll see some growth, or maybe you won't find out why
in your life.
Yeah.
Because like when you're at the end of the day, like if our goal is the kingdom, when you get to the kingdom, you're not going to be thinking about all this stuff. It's going to be irrelevant.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, I don't know how we got to this.
It was about candor.
Yeah, we're talking about friendships and then vulnerability and then candidness.
Yeah, vulnerability with God. So one of the best examples of friendship as well, when you're saying expectations of friendship, the best examples of friendship is the friendship that you share with Jesus.
It's true. Or that Jesus shares with you.
That Jesus shares with you. Correct. That's the most important friendship that you should have. And oftentimes we seek Jesus in our friends when only Jesus can provide what you're after. That sounds really cliche when I'm saying it out loud, but it's so true. And I've been slapped in the face so hard by that in my life when I've had friends disappoint me, and they know they've disappointed me because I'm so vocal about it. And I think their only response to me is, I don't think you're being realistic, like with how I can be a friend to you. And they're right. Like the only friendship I can truly be perfectly fulfilled by is the friendship that I have, that Jesus has with me. I think that's a very special, very, very special friendship that we need to prioritize more than any of the other friendships.
Yeah.
Which is something I need to do too.
I fully agree with that. I also flip it on its head like a little bit. It's not really flipping it, but the best times in friendships is, for me at least, is when I personally see God working in my friend. And it's not even, it doesn't even have to be anything that like they're like biblical or spiritual that they have said or they have done. But it's just like
not turning into a pastor.
Yeah, but it's just like the love that you have felt from them is just like a small image of the love that Christ has for you, sort of thing. And for me, that is something that is like one of the best feelings in the world, to actually understand, well, God, now I actually understand your love a bit more. And that's through Simon, that's through my friend, that's through whoever it is. And it's such a blessing to feel that. And in those times, it could be the most basic thing, but it's like, that's when I personally feel loved the most. It's when I actually, when you or someone else has allowed me to experience God's love a bit more.
Agreed.
That makes sense.
I often say to my friends, instead of I love you, there's two other things that I say that's probably more important to me than I love you. And it's, I can clearly see Jesus in you. Like I said it to you before, actually, when I was talking about someone, and I was like, when I was talking to them, I couldn't help but to say, like, I feel like I sat with Jesus.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
And I've said it to multiple friends of mine. And then there are also friends that I say, like if I'm, in a random, I feel like most people don't do this, but yeah, when you get into a mood where you're just reflecting and you're self-reflecting, you're really grateful, I get really sappy, and then I'm just like, I want to text my friends and I want to say how much I appreciate them, because I don't know, like, if they know. And sometimes I'll say, you feel like home. And that just means it's somewhere where God is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's honestly like, even like the way that friends have forgiven me, or like whatever it is just like, those are the moments where you just feel like God's love a bit more, and you sort of understand. For me, I think sometimes the best way for me to learn about God is actually through relationships with other people.
Yeah.
Or to learn about my relationship with God is to learn my relationship with other people, and the way that they have treated me when it's positive. It's like how God is treating me, and when it's negative towards me, it's like how I'm treating God. And it shows me how I should be treating God. It shows me how I shouldn't be, what He treats me. Like, forgiveness is a big thing. Like when a friend forgives me, it makes like because we all know that God forgives us, but it makes it so much more real, sort of thing.
100%.
It makes it like now I can actually see it. It's I don't know.
I love it when I love seeing people apologize for things. Because I don't know, whenever I've been apologized to, the first thing you hear about from my mouth is, absolutely don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. But I think what I've realized is the apology comes from this place of, I really was impacted by my decision to do X, Y, and Z. And I love you more than that decision, and more than my pride, or more than what I said. And I think that that's really beautiful. So I think we always, not over apologize, but we should be very careful to be really candid and lower our pride in friendships.
Absolutely.
In relationships.
Literally, yeah, everything.
Oh, and everything you're right.
There's, to move on slightly, there's a part of friendships that is, so comparing to like family relationships. Obviously we know that family relationships are like probably the strongest, like not for all of us, but like just naturally, these are your family, like you've grown with them, all this stuff. But there are some things in life that friends sort of they play a role in, and your family don't. There are some things I'll tell my friends, and they'll understand me more than my family will. And it's very interesting, because your family is just naturally closer. But sometimes friends play that role, which is very interesting. I did have a question for you. Now I'm just mind blanking.
The difference between friendship between family and friends?
I can't even remember.
Do you know what I do want to talk about?
Tell me.
That with family and friendships, I was talking the other day. It's funny that you brought it up. I was talking the other day to someone about it. And I said the wrong thing. And then another friend of mine corrected me. And I said, I had met a non-believer. Oh no, a believer. that I've never talked to before, and they were talking about how they believed in God, and their brothers didn't. And then he talked about how he was closer to the church brothers than he was his own brothers, and that his family felt this segregation or separation from him, and the closeness between him and his godly brothers versus him and his earthly brothers. And then I was like, but family comes first. That's biblical. And then my friend corrected me when I was talking about it on the phone, and he was like, why? The believers come first.
True.
And apparently that is biblical, I think, somewhere in the Bible, which I still haven't searched. But I mean, apparently it's biblical to be closer to your believers, especially when your family are non-believers. It doesn't matter if you're blood or not.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's wise. And I now I can't remember if I was talking about it. Oh no, I was just speaking to some people about this, but like they were talking about friendships and relationships with non-believers, and I was like, of course you're gonna have friendships with non-believers. Like that's normal. Like it's okay to have friends that aren't believers, but you won't have the level of intimacy or the like. And I would suggest not having a level of intimacy with them because they can't. What's the word? They can't cater. They can't empathize. They can't cater for your needs because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
They don't have the Holy Spirit. They can't understand your relationship with God at all. And I think the same goes with family. It's like they're your family. They if it was something outside of like, I don't know, if it was just some other advice. I don't know. Everything in my life is like catered around God, so I'm trying to think of something, but nothing is coming to my mind.
I think there are friends that I've had that are not necessarily strong believers, or they're not believers, and God's still spoken through them.
Yeah, for
which
sure.
is really cool.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think having believers as friends is the wisest decision to make, but not to not be friends with unbelievers because they're a ministry in themselves, and God will use them. And oftentimes there are people that I never thought would come to Christ that are now really close friends of mine. And the friendship that I had pre-existing and post, it was all critical to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And God has used it.
Like the same thing with families, why I brought up that conversation was like family, they can't cater for your needs if they're not believers all the time. And the same thing, like even sometimes, like families is, I would prioritize family for sure. You sacrifice for your family first, and then sacrifice for your friends, but they won't be able to satisfy your needs. They won't like be able to show that love that God has shown them, sort of thing, if they haven't felt that love.
The way they define love is different.
Yeah, they don't really understand love.
No, love is not God to them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that's a whole different kettle of fish.
It is.
Did you have something to say?
You did say something, and I'm trying to refresh my memory, and I think it was got to do with family and friends. You said obviously family is going to be closer. Like we know that's something that's the case. Oh, you said something about like naturally they'll be the closer ones. The difference between you and me is, I think you were always very close to your family, right? And you grew up with them. I think my family were my friends.
They weren't?
They were.
Oh, they were?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like when I grew up, and still now, I love my friends a lot. They are my family. They're, like I said, they're home to me. And I don't know if it's bad. Like, I don't think it's bad.
I don't think it's bad because I think it's sort of out of your control.
I think it's based on my heart as well. And I think when you look at Jesus and the disciples and the relationship he had with the disciples, it was a brotherly love. And I think that the brothers that I do have, I have a really, 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 really fond relationship with them that I feel like is very different to family. My family relationships are great, and they're so wholesome and beautiful, and they are open and honest, and the communication is there. but there's a level of comfort that I have with my friends that even my family glorify God for. Like when I talk to my mum about the friendship that I share with my most intimate friends, the love that she has for them because they share that friendship with me is so edifying. They know how much she appreciates that they spend time with me, and they know how much she appreciates that they're raising me as I'm raising them, etc. And I think that that's a really important part of being a parent. And as we kind of veer to a next stage of life where we're going to become parents one day, inshallah, ya Rab. Inshallah. If we become parents one day, is to remind ourselves that we should be really excited that our kids will one day be close to believing kids, and that they will grow and the kingdom will grow, and there will be this beautiful union with them that will help them be holy. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be so proud of my kid if he found a group of boys like I have. I'd be like very proud of him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But that's what I was saying, that your family won't be able to cater for your needs.
You're right.
I think like I think the more we grow, probably the less we rely on our family. And I think that's probably when we are ready to start our own family. But I think there will always be a time where I would go to my mum first before my friends. And
they're the right
things.
person.
Yeah. They're always like the right person, or whether it's Anthony or Roger, whatever it is. Maybe there's something in life that we connected on that no one really understands apart from them. Jeanette, about whatever it is, whoever it is, right? But like I love God. The way he has, like, when you really deepen, when you really think about it, it's just like the way he has formed our relationships and stuff. Like, I don't think science can explain. Science can't explain the love that we have for people. It can't explain why we have relationships, why we feel these things for some people.
I literally had this conversation with someone who was visiting our church, who is not a church person, who's coming to terms with like what it means to be part of the Christian faith. And he was just like, how do you explain like God, like if he's not there and stuff? And I was like, well, how do you explain love? Like, is love real? And they're like, yeah, it's real. I've experienced it. Like, that was a conversation that me and a friend had with some other friends.
Yeah, it's
and it's there. It's really tangible, but it's not. And that's why we need faith. And it is amazing because God is fully working, and it's tangible to me, especially with friendships. And I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah.
Like when you've seen the friendships, like the last time we had a podcast together, actually, I think you said something about the struggle you had with friendships growing up and consistency and the right people. But now that you have friends, really good ones that you really treasure and that you really admire and have all those qualities that you need, and vice versa, you're so much more grateful for it, and you can see God's hand in all of your experiences that you had before. And it's really made you treasure those friendships and serve them.
Oh yeah, it is. It's like day and night from I had. Yeah, from what I had to what I have now, and can't be more grateful than what I am. Sometimes actually I can be more grateful.
Yeah,
but I can't.
I'm the same.
What's the saying? I can't be more. I don't know, but I can't appreciate it enough. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
For people that maybe are struggling with friendships, whether maybe they're struggling to let go, or struggling with, like, I don't know, whatever struggle you can really feel in a friendship. Being very broad, but what would your advice to them be? And it's pretty broad.
No, it's not. It's a perfect question. It's a really good question. I guess for the ones that, I guess there's a couple of ways I can answer this. For the ones that are struggling with current friendships that are coming to an end, which is I think what you said at the start, are they coming to an end? like, is my question that I would ask myself, like, why do you feel that they're coming to an end? Is it because they're treating you differently? Is it because you're not feeling the fulfillment that you desire from that friendship? I would reflect on the friendship and why you feel like it's coming to an end, and then figure out if it's actually serving you or serving them, that friendship. And then I would also just say that it's okay, like, to struggle with it. Like, it's okay to, when a friendship really, when I struggle with friendships and I have lots of trials with them and I think they're coming to an end or whatever, and God redeems it, I have like an anxiety attack. I have genuine like anxiety when I lose people, because I think it's, I don't know, if Anthony was here, given he's a psychologist, he'd probably say you have fear of people leaving you, and abandonment. That I think does exist and ends fine. Course, yeah. Abandonment exists, and yeah, nice.
That's fine. Just keep going.
And the abandonment does play a part. Like, I just think it's fine if people leave. And God will get you through it. Like, I've seen people leave my life, and I've seen God bring even better friendships in my life. And I could, if you just sat me here in silence and told me to think about my friends, I'd probably cry, because I love them so much. And if God takes them away, I'll cry. Like, I will struggle, but I will still send them off in love and say, Lord, like, you've given them to me for a period of time, and you give and take away, and it's okay. And I know that you'll give again, like, you're always giving. So it's okay that friendships will end. Just know that it's not yours to begin with, really. It was a blessing for you to have the friendship to begin with. So just continue to remember that. Don't take it personally as much as possible. I know that's hard to say, but you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are beautiful. You are a beautiful person. Whether or not one person appreciates it, someone else will appreciate it. And God will put that on their heart to appreciate it.
Would you say try everything to keep the friendship? Or
again, like I said, I'm an over communicator, so I would just communicate that I feel distance. If I don't communicate that I feel distance, it's probably that I want the friendship to not end, but I do feel like it's the appropriate time for the friendship to subside. That's happened a lot. Like, it hasn't happened a lot, but for circumstances, it has happened in my past, and it's been painful, but not as painful because I almost feel like God's prepped my heart for it. So it depends. I honestly think it depends, but I would over communicate. If you feel like you're really hurting, just be honest, cry in front of them. Don't cry. I don't know what you want to do. Like, everyone's different. Just be real with them and just say, hey, like, this friendship's been a struggle for me, and I'm really sorry. I'm not able to be the friend that you need, and I just need to communicate that. Or vice versa, you're not being the friend that I need, and I need to communicate that. And I think that maybe I'm not serving you the way I should be serving you because I'm having resentment and blah, blah, blah. And I need to sort through that. And the only way I see that happening is either for us to commit to doing something about it, or for us to commit to praying about our friendship. Yeah. Like, I've never really had conversations that brutal though. Like, I have had conversations though in the past where I've said, I really don't think this friendship's good for us. And they've disagreed and prayed about it and kept giving it a shot, and God's working.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't think many people would be able to have that conversation. I
strongly implore it. Like, why not? We don't have time to waste.
I think it's hard to come to terms with something like that. Maybe. I think even in like relationships and friendships, like romantic relationships, I'm saying, it's like, even if you know the relationship's not working out, it's like you're gonna try everything, because
I agree.
It did work out once.
It did, yeah.
At a stage.
And you see potential in the future.
Yeah, stuff like that. So I think it's very difficult for most people to actually have those conversations because they don't want to give up. And if they do want to give up, then they'll probably take the coward's way out and not have that conversation.
Or like whatever. Silence.
Yeah.
That's deafening.
Which is actually
worse.
A lot more hurtful than...
Way hurtful.
Way hurtful. Yeah.
Way hurtful.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Yeah. No, so that's... And then my other piece of advice would be... on friendships, seeking friendships. Is it more so seeking friendships?
Just
Friendships coming
just
from them.
friendships in general.
So my other advice on friendships in general is, I think just be really, really sensitive to the person, understanding the person's capacity, get an understanding of, yeah, look, I'm going to talk pretty candidly.
You cut it out. So just let me know.
Yeah, we can probably cut it out. Look, I struggle with friendships in that, and I'm sure you've had the same. Like, there are people that want to be close to you that you can't give a lot to, and it's really difficult because you want to be servant-hearted. You want to be like Jesus. You know how Jesus was, and I think that you have to be selective at times because your ministry is very specific. And I do personally feel a conviction to be friends with the friends that I have. And I know which friends God wants me to focus on because of the edification that I'm getting from them and vice versa, and my comfort levels with them. So there are some times when I feel like some friends over-deliver and overcompensate because they want to get closer. But you've got to remember why you're getting close in the beginning. Like, is it because you want a friend that is going to be like the friend that you are to them? And if they're not able to deliver that caliber, step back and realize that, like, that person is not going to actually deliver the friendship that you're looking for, even if you force your way in. They'll disappoint. Also, when going into a friendship, another piece of advice is just know that that person's going to hurt you at some point. Probably the most that you've ever been hurt. They're going to be like high level amounts of hurt in friendship because it's so intimate and it's so close that you're bound to be hurt by them. You got to have that expectation that at some point it's okay to hurt together and to heal together.
Yeah. I want to just ask a question. What you said before that.
I keep burping, and I don't know if it's garlic. It's standard. I hate garlic so much, and I keep burping.
You didn't garlic, did you?
Maybe it was the GYG.
Yeah,
the onion, bro. It's really putting me off. Anyway,
so lucky they can't smell it. What was I going to ask?
You said you have a question to ask me.
Yeah. Do you think it's actually it's necessarily a bad thing to want to be someone's friend for their sake?
Like, as in Simon and Jonah. Jonah wants to be friends with Simon to bring Simon to a certain point. Like,
Simon is struggling with friendships. He's struggling with having someone there, whatever. So I'm gonna be like, look, I'll try and play that role for
you. And then, bro, it's a very dangerous line, Jonah. It's a very dangerous line. You can't fix people.
Yeah. But you can also be there for people.
You can be there for people. 100% think you can be there for people, but you can't be their saving grace.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think you've got to be very clear to distinguish when you are in someone's life, when they're going through a rough patch. You've got to be really prayerful about it, but be really clear with yourself that it's highly likely most of the time when someone's suffering and you're there for them, they're going to expect you to be there for them all the time.
Yeah.
On the small and the big. Because if you were there for them when they're lowest, that you'll be there. But we are called to be there for our church. Like, we're called to be there for everyone. But we've just got to distinguish. As a church, we need to realize that friendships are very delicate, and you got to know how much you can go into it and how much you can go out.
Can I have you love this saying of mine, but I have a hot take.
Hot take.
And the first thing...
You need like a button that you can press when you have a hot take because you say it so much.
I don't know if I say it a lot on the podcast.
I got a hot take.
I say it a lot in...
You do say it a lot outside of the podcast, you're right.
Yeah, outside.
He's got a hot take.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. I always do that.
No, I remember. I'm trying. But with like those moments where like you said, we need to take care of our church. We need to care for our church. And my personal opinion, actually what the Bible says is everyone plays a role, right?
Yeah.
Why I think we have people that don't have friends or feel like there are some people at church that just are a bit outside or whatever it is. Like, it's because people aren't playing their role correctly. For me, like I'm a youth leader. My focus is going to be on the youth.
I agree.
So if there is a young adult or someone older, I have a heart for people, and I will see them, and I would want to approach them. I would want to be there for them and stuff. And I actually love it. And if you feel like I'm approaching you one day, it's not because I feel the obligation or whatever, but I actually love it. But there should be someone else. That is because I should be preoccupied with doing the youth.
I agree.
I should be caring for the youth, and other people should pick up their slack in caring for the other people around them.
Yeah.
This is just an example, but I think that's probably why there's a lot of people in church or in life that
kind of fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, look, I was one of those kids, man, that felt like I didn't really get to be friends with the people that I wanted to be friends with growing up. And then I had people like Akram, who was friends with me when I was younger, who played a huge role in manning me up and helping me figure out who I was and my identity. And he made a pivotal decision, I think, to adopt me in his friendships. And I struggled with him. I don't think he knows this, but I struggled with the fact that he was friends with all the boys and me. Like, I was jealous. Actually, that's something I probably should talk to. There is friendship jealousy that we shouldn't have. But I was really cut that he prioritized me, but also prioritized you, and he prioritized some of the other boys, some of the boys that I was close to as well, I grew up with. And I'd get scared that he would like them more than me, or vice versa. Like they would have a better relationship with him than I did. But I think realizing in hindsight, like, he gave me a certain capacity that was really helpful for me because it defined a lot of the things that I needed, and he played a really key role in my life at the point that I needed it. I think we always get a bit cut. I wish Akram was in my life all the time. I'm sure he would say the same thing. I don't even know if he's going to be okay with that. I'm talking about this, but it is. He'll be all right. But we love each other a lot. And every time he talks to me, I always just, a big smirk on my face because he made a huge impact on my life. And I think that we have capacity to be not intimate, but like close to people and love people in our church really well, and not be best friends with them, and not be texting them every day, and not be on the phone with them all the time. It is that I'm genuinely concerned. But when we talk, me and you say, like, I haven't talked to you in a while, but I've been thinking about you. So how you been? Are you good? And we have an element of trust that's mutual between us two. And it may not be the same trust level that I have with some of my other friends, but you certainly get a certain version of my life that gives you something to pray about, or gives you something to think about, and gives us a friendship that exists that is beyond a surface level. You look good today. You know what I mean? How are you? Good. That's it, you know? Yeah. And so I think that we need to remember that there is bandwidth for a very tender brotherhood and sisterhood in church. And I think there are a lot of people that play that role really well. I think there are people that are too scared to play that role in church and in our church. And I encourage people to do it. Like, I don't want to be the only one that's like, everyone's got different personality types. I'm extrovert, and I definitely like love seeing people. I don't want to be best friends with everyone. Yeah. But I certainly want everyone to feel loved, and I certainly want people to know that I appreciate them, even if we're not the same, and even if we're not best friends, and that's fine. I still love them. There's still a level of love that I have for them, especially if you're part of my church. Absolutely. Like, I think a struggle that I have at church is that, like, I really love everyone at church. I do. And when there's people that I struggle with, I think I lash out or I react a certain way because I love them and I feel like hurt. So it's, yeah, we are capable of, I think, of a bandwidth that's bigger. I think you're right. I think we need to, as believers, just be really bold and know that we can be a little bit more candid with each other and be real with each other and say, I'm having a bad day. I don't really want to talk about details, but I need you to pray with me. Can you pray with me? And then in 2 weeks' time, I'll come back to you and I'll be like, how did you go the last 2 weeks? Has things been better? And then you can be like, yeah.
This actually happened between us, like,
what? A couple days ago, a few weeks ago, yeah.
A few weeks ago.
And then even a few hours ago, to be honest.
Yeah, actually.
And you know what you need to know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I would say, like, even if you don't have the capacity to be someone's friend, you definitely have the capacity to just check how someone's going.
100%, bro.
I think that's like, honestly, when I was sick, this is me being very open. I have no issues with anyone at all. But when I was sick and I didn't come to church for whatever 2 months or whatever, there was a few people that messaged me. I think you did message me. But like the people that I didn't expect to message me, that did message me, it was like, wow. Like,
very life-changing.
not necessarily life-changing, but it's like you just have such more of an appreciation for people.
Yeah, it's a warm energy, bro. It's godly.
But then I think about like those that maybe don't feel like, maybe they don't expect anyone to reach out to them. So imagine if Simon just reached out to that person and was just like, hey man, missed you, whatever. Or Jonah reached out to that person, hey man, missed you, how you going? I think that would be a massive impact in their lives.
I agree.
That's why I personally have a conviction to try and notice when people aren't at church. And it's because I genuinely care for them. Obviously the people I'm closest with is easier to notice, but even the people outside, I'll message them. I'll like, I missed you. What's going on? Hope everything's okay. And I think it's actually plays the biggest part. And I think, like I said before, that's when people can experience God's love through you. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there are some things that some churches do that is really well done. Like, it's the whole concept of like saying hi to someone you don't know, speak to someone you don't know, connect with them, ask them about, how they are, where they're from, what's their history. It's helpful. And yeah, like I think this last couple of months, I've spent a lot of time at our church talking to different people, and I've just loved it. There's some really cool people at our church, some really cool mums and dads, specifically, that I've really connected with, and I really appreciate them. It's been really edifying.
Yeah, I love it. I think, is there anything else that you want to talk about? I think I
think it's good. I think it was nice. It was a nice, wholesome conversation.
Yeah, an hour and a half as well. So good timing. I don't know what happened to this camera. Is it plugged in? It's not probably plugged.
Did it die?
I don't know. It's very weird. Never
That's
happened.
Sad.
I literally said
it's literally closed. Like the
must have turned off.
It's only me for everyone.
All the main camera. But yes, thank you, Simon. Thank you.
My pleasure.
For coming on. We should do a group podcast or like a multi people podcast.
Yeah, I wonder what that would be like. It'd be me fighting for my voice to get heard. Oh gosh, I'm so loud too.
You're actually pretty soft. I feel like I spoke louder than you
today.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Thank you all for watching.
Thanks, everyone.
I'll see you soon, I guess.
Yeah, make friends. Make friends. Enjoy friendships.
That's right. All right. See ya.